Hello, welcome to Pixoguias. We are Sofiia and Rodrigo, and in this video we are going to check and analyze more than 100 examples of the simulator items and exercises similar to those which are contained in our study guides. After reviewing the exercises, we will review how the second part of the exam is solved. The items and exercises are extremely similar to the real test EGAL EIN, so you could practice with the items with the same level of difficulty of the final exam, which is very useful. Our study guides are updated no matter when you are seeing this video according to CENEVAL. We include all the topics explained according to the official bibliographic references. So the items and exercises and the explained topics in the study guide are digital in the PDF format. In 2021, our last collaborator Ekaterina and Rodrigo made a detailed video of this guide showing how the guide looks like in graphics. So feel free to check that video and click in the description above of this video to reach and see it. Therefore, our videos are digital sample books, so if you need a digital sample book, know that our videos are exactly these samples. The digital guides are protected with a password that we will provide you, and the documents can be viewed on the gadgets such as laptop, desktop computer, smartphones and tablets, except Kindle. So also, you can just print the guide if you wish. As you know, the English teacher accreditation process by CENEVAL includes two phases. Phase 1, EGAL EIN test or writing test, and Phase 2, the EXOAL EIN test, or basically is just the oral test. The first phase, or EGAL EIN, consists of 3 areas, of which you can see all the details in the previous video made by Ekaterina and Rodrigo. The areas are:
the first area is linguistics. The sub-areas are general linguistics, morphology and syntax, phonetics and phonology, lexicology and semantics, and finally, language use. It's important to note that the first area of the last syllabus, that was origins of English, is not going to be evaluated in the exam anymore. The second area of this new syllabus is principles of teaching and learning, with the sub-areas didactics, curriculum and syllabus design, psychology, evaluation and assessment, and finally, online learning and distance education. And finally, the third area, English language teaching, with the following sub-areas: language acquisition and learning, approaches and methods to language learning, teaching the language skills, professional development, and finally, language and culture. It is important to note that for this first phase of the EGAL EIN process exam, this test has 185 exercises.
after you accredit the EGAL EIN, you must complete the EXOAL EIN, which is a practical case that you must develop according to CENEVAL guidelines. You must submit a portfolio of evidence, and at the end you will take the oral exam in the auditorium. Of course, our EGAL EIN study guide includes a specific guide for the EXOAL EIN, which will tell you step by step how to solve the practical case, the portfolio of evidence, and respond appropriately in the audience. In this video, we are focusing in solving more than 100 examples of items that are very similar to the ones that you can find in the EGAL EIN test. As a native Ukrainian, English and Ukrainian are the fundamental languages for me, and I use them to communicate to the world. In this video, I have the pleasure of teaching you together with Rodrigo, and we will share with you the examples of exercises and indicate the types of the guides that we have available. So we have the basic version. It contains the topics solved and explained based on the bibliographic references proposed by CENEVAL, in addition to 200 exercises and simulation items. Of course, we include the guide for the EXOAL EIN. The next version is deluxe version. It includes all the above and 400 exercises. The absolute version includes all the above and 1000 exercises. The supreme version includes the above and 1500 exercises. The universal version includes the above and 2000 exercises. The advantage of having more exercises is that you can practice with the exercises that are similar to those on the exam, so you can familiarize yourself with the difficulty and structure. Okay, are you ready? Let's get started.
En Pixoguias entendemos que muchas personas tienen reservas al comprar en línea, especialmente cuando se trata de productos educativos y digitales. Por eso, para tu tranquilidad, ponemos a tu disposición más de 800 opiniones verificadas en nuestra fanpage de Facebook, así como comentarios de usuarios reales en nuestro canal de YouTube y en nuestra página web oficial. También puedes ver en pantalla todos nuestros canales de contacto oficiales, incluido nuestro número de WhatsApp para atención directa y personalizada. Todos los días hacemos nuestro mejor esfuerzo, y esto se refleja en la cantidad de seguidores activos crecientes que mantenemos en nuestro canal de YouTube, lo cual puede transmitirte mayor confianza. Contamos con una sede administrativa en Torre Polanco, Ciudad de México, donde se gestionan los asuntos legales, operativos y de marca. No brindamos atención presencial, pero sí garantizamos respuesta ágil y personalizada a través de nuestros medios oficiales. Además, estamos registrados ante el Instituto Mexicano de la Propiedad Industrial, INPI, lo cual respalda legalmente la marca Pixoguias y nuestro compromiso con la educación. Como en cualquier proyecto con miles de usuarios, es natural que exista un pequeño porcentaje de usuarios con experiencias distintas, pero la enorme mayoría de quienes nos contactan están satisfechos con la calidad, claridad y utilidad de nuestros materiales. También contamos con un equipo real, visible y profesional detrás de este proyecto. Puedes conocer más sobre nosotros en nuestros contenidos, donde compartimos imágenes y muestras de las más de 2000 opiniones positivas acumuladas en distintas plataformas durante más de una década. Lo más importante es que te sientas seguro y en confianza. Te invitamos a escribirnos con total libertad. Valoramos el respeto mutuo y siempre procuramos responder con atención, empatía y honestidad. ¿Cuáles son los precios y cómo recibir una guía? Los precios de las diferentes guías podrás visualizarlos en la descripción de este video. Allí podrás encontrar el enlace hacia la tienda en línea de la guía de tu interés. Además de los precios, encontrarás las características y diferencias entre cada una de ellas, formas de pago y tiempo de envío, el cual es generalmente inmediato tu correo electrónico, siempre y cuando nos envíes tu comprobante vía WhatsApp o fanpage de Facebook. Puedes hacer tu pago en nuestra tienda en línea a través de tarjeta de débito, tarjeta de crédito o PayPal las 24 horas. No es necesario crear una cuenta. O si lo prefieres, puedes hacer tu pago a través de depósito bancario de 8 de la mañana a 4 o 5 de la tarde, dependiendo del banco, pago en Practicajas las 24 horas del día o depósito en tienda de conveniencia, OXXO o 7-Eleven, de 8 de la mañana a 8 de la noche. Si lo prefieres, puedes realizar transferencia interbancaria a cualquier hora. Pixoguias está disponible las 24 horas, los 7 días de la semana, sin importar si es un día festivo o es madrugada.
Now, we will review exercises in the direct questioning format for Area 1 Linguistics. Okay, as you can see, in the upper left corner of our items, that is, exercises, the subarea and the topic to which the item refers are indicated. Next, we present the answer choices, the explained answer, and the justification and explanation, along with the official bibliographic reference proposed by CENEVAL that supports the correct answer. So, that is essentially how the exercises are presented in our guide, and that is how we will review them through this video. Now Sofiia is going to explain some exercises.
For the next item, let's craft a direct questioning type of question, focusing on the sub-area teaching the language skills and the topic strategies to develop listening skills. In high school English class, the teacher decides to improve the students' listening skills by using authentic audio materials. Before playing the recording of a news broadcast, the teacher provides a list of key vocabulary and phrases that will be heard. After listening, students are grouped to discuss the main points and details they gathered from the news, and this technique, focusing on listening for specific information and summarizing the content, best exemplifies which of the following listening strategies: A. Listening for the gist, B. Intensive listening, C. Extensive listening, and D. Selective listening. The correct answer is D. Let me explain. This technique exemplifies selective listening, where listeners focus on specific pieces of information within a larger audio context. By preparing students with key vocabulary and phrases, and then having them to identify some main points and details, the teacher is directing them to listen selectively for particular information, rather than just understanding every word or the overall theme. Let's move to the next exercise. Strategies to develop reading skill. In order to enhance ESL students' reading comprehension, a teacher implements a strategy where students first predict the content of the text based on the title and any accompanying visuals, and after reading, they confirm or revise their predictions by discussing them in small groups. This strategy not only improves the understanding, but also encourages active engagement with the text. This reading comprehension technique is known as A. Scanning, B. Skimming, C. Predictive reading. The right answer is C. Let me explain. The described strategy is more accurately identified as predictive reading. This approach involves making predictions about a text's content before reading and then confirming or revising those predictions afterward. This technique is effective for improving reading comprehension and engaging students with the text by encouraging them to use their prior knowledge and context clues to make informed guesses about the text they are about to read. Let's move to the next exercise. Human development. Understanding the stages of human development is crucial for language teachers, as it enables them to tailor their teaching strategies to the cognitive and emotional maturity of their learners. For example, Piaget's theory suggests that during the stage from about 7 to 11 years old, children become capable of logical thought processes but are not yet able to handle abstract reasoning. This knowledge helps teachers design activities that are appropriate for the developmental stage of their students. The options: A. Pre-operational, B. Concrete operational, C. Formal operational. The correct answer is B. Piaget's concrete operational stage is characterized by the development of logical thought processes, albeit with a focus on concrete objects and situations rather than just abstract concepts. Understanding this stage is essential for language teachers to create lessons that actually align with their students' cognitive development, thus facilitating more effective learning.
This exercise is about the sub-area General Linguistics with topic Concepts of General Linguistics. In the field of linguistics, a distinction is often made between the study of the internal structure of language and the use of language in social interaction. A researcher is interested in how utterances perform actions, such as requesting, promising, or apologizing, depending on the speaker's intention and the context. Which linguistic concept best describes the researcher's focus? A. Competence, B. Pragmatics, or C. Syntax. As we can see, pragmatics is the correct answer, because pragmatics examines how meaning is constructed and interpreted based on the context, intention, and social norms, particularly in speech acts like request or apologize. By the way, competence and syntax are incorrect. Competence is incorrect because this concept, introduced by Chomsky, refers to the speaker's internalized knowledge of grammar and does not occur for contextual meaning in communication. By the way, syntax is incorrect because this syntax is concerned with the structural arrangement of words into phrases and sentences, independent of speaker intention or social interaction. We can see now an exercise from the sub-area Morphology and Syntax with the topic Morphology of Words in the English Language. In the sentence, he misinterpreted the instructions. Which of the following best describes the morphological structure of the verb misinterpreted? A. Root plus derivational suffix plus inflectional suffix. B. Prefix plus root plus inflectional suffix. Or C. Prefix plus root plus derivational suffix. The correct answer is B. Prefix plus root plus inflectional suffix. Why? Because the word misinterpreted is composed of the prefix mis, the root interpret, and the inflectional suffix ed, which indicates past tense. By the way, A, root plus derivational suffix plus inflectional suffix is incorrect because this structure would imply the use of a suffix to derive meaning before applying inflection, but mis is a prefix and not a suffix. C is incorrect because there is no derivational suffix present, and ed only indicates tense, not a change in the lexical category or meaning. Okay, we can have this exercise from the sub-area Morphology and Syntax with the topic Syntax in the English language. Which of the following sentence exemplifies a cleft construction used to emphasize a specific sentence element? A. She only saw the painting yesterday. B. What she saw yesterday was the painting. Or C. She saw the painting that everyone was talking about. The correct answer is B. What she saw yesterday was the painting. Why? Because this is a classic cleft sentence where a relative clause and a focus element are used to highlight a specific part of the sentence, often for emphasis. A. She only saw the painting yesterday is incorrect because this is a standard sentence with focus marked by adverb placement, but it does not use cleft syntax. And C is incorrect because this is a complex sentence with a restrictive relative clause, not a cleft construction. We can see now an exercise from the sub-area Morphology and Syntax with the topic Syntax in the English language. A graduate student in linguistics analyzes the sentence. Only after a concert was over did the audience start leaving. She observes that the subject comes after the auxiliary and that a fronted adverbial phrase triggers the inversion. She concludes the structure exemplifies a deviation from canonical word order used for rhetorical or stylistic purposes in formal context. Which syntactic phenomenon is being illustrated? A. Subject auxiliary inversion in interrogatives. B. Extraposition. Or C. Subject auxiliary inversion in negative or restrictive adverbials. The correct answer is C. Subject auxiliary inversion in negative or restrictive adverbials. Why? Because this phenomenon occurs when a negative or restrictive adverbial, for example only after, rarely, or never, is front, triggering inversion of the auxiliary and subject, as seen in formal English syntax. A. Incorrect because this inversion occurs in yes, no, or WH questions, such as did she go? Not in declarative sentence with unusual adverbials. B. Extraposition is incorrect because extraposition involves shifting clauses to the end of a sentence for clarity. For example, it is clear that she left. It does not involve fronting or auxiliary inversion. This exercise is from the sub-area Phonetics and Phonology with the topic Phonetics of English. An advanced English learner is having trouble distinguishing between the vowels bit and bit, despite repeated listening and production practice. A phonetics instructor explains that the learner is failing to perceive and produce the contrast based on vowel length and tongue position, particularly height and tenses, which are crucial in distinguishing the two phonemes in many varieties of English. What type of phonetic contrast is the student failing to recognize? A. A suprasegmental contrast. B. Vowel quality contrast. Or C. Assimilatory contrast. The correct answer is B. Vowel quality contrast. The learner struggles to distinguish the height, tenseness, and length, E versus E, which are differences in vowel quality critical to English vowel distinction. A is incorrect because suprasegmental features include intonation, stress, and rhythm, which operate above the segmental level. This case involves segmental phonemes. And C is also incorrect because assimilation refers to sound changes due to neighboring sounds, such as in the connected speech, and is not involved in this type of minimal pair contrast. Now we can see an example of exercise of phonetics and phonology with topic phonology of English. A linguist analyzes the variation in the pronunciation of the phoneme T in the following words: butter, button, Batman, and bottle. He observes that in some dialects the T sound is realized as a voice flap R, a glottal stop, or even deleted, depending on its position and the phonetic environment. These variations do not change the meaning of the words and are considered predictable in context. Which phonological concept best accounts for these variations? A. Allophonic distribution. B. Phonemic contrast. Or C. Elision. Correct answer is A. Allophonic distribution. These are context-dependent realizations of the phoneme T that do not alter meaning and follow phonological rules with dialects, classic example of allophones. B and C are incorrect. B. This refers to differences that change meaning, like P versus B in the pat versus bat. Here the meaning remains intact across all realizations of T. C. Elision is incorrect because elision involves the complete omission of a sound for ease of pronunciation, while D. Elision may occur, and the primary phenomenon across all examples is the existence of predictable variants and not the elision alone. Here we have an exercise from phonetics and phonology with topic phonology of English. A non-native speaker pronounces the sentence, "He's going to see it," as "he's to see it," while native speakers commonly produce it as "he is." The difference reflects not only phonetic reduction but also the influence of connected speech processes such as assimilation, elision, and linking. The glottal stop at the end further shows a regional feature common in some dialects like Cockney or stuttery English. What phonological process is primarily responsible for the realization of T as G in this context? A. Glottalization. B. Jot coalescence. Or C. Intrusion. Correct answer is A. Glottalization. This process replaces T with glottal stop, particularly in syllable final position, and is recognized phonological feature of several English dialects. B and C are incorrect because jot coalescence involves the combination of alveolar and palatal sounds, and as in digit, which is not present here. And intrusion is incorrect also because intrusion refers to the insertion of sounds between vowels boundaries and not the replacement of consonants like T. Now we have another exercise of lexicology and semantics with the topic meaning and sense of words in the English language. In semantic analysis, the words buy and sell are often cited as examples of lexical items that describe the same event from different participant roles. One emphasizes the receiver and the other the provider, yet both involve a transactional process. These pairs are used to illustrate the relational meaning between lexical items based in the role in the situation. Which type of semantic relationship do these words exemplify? A. Hyponymy. B. Antonymy. Or C. Converseness. Correct answer is C. Converseness. Why? Because buy and sell are converses. They describe the same situation from two perspectives where the roles of the participants are reversed but the event remains constant. Hyponymy is incorrect because hyponymy refers to the hierarchical relationship where one word is subcategory of another. Rose is a hyponym of flower, which is not the case here. Antonymy is incorrect because are words with the opposite meanings, like hot versus cold, but buy and sell do not directly oppose each other. They describe complementary roles. Now we have another example of exercise from lexicology and semantics, with the topic lexis and vocabulary in the English language. An English language teacher introduces the verb run to her students and provides examples like run a business, run late, run for the office, and run a program. And she explains that although the verb is morphologically changed, it takes on a variety of meanings depending on the collocational context and semantic field. Which linguistic phenomenon is being illustrated? A. Polysemy, B. Homonymy, C. Synonymy. Answer A. Polysemy. This is correct because polysemy occurs when a single word has multiple related meanings. Run in all examples contains a core semantic link, but expresses diverse senses based on usage. B and C are incorrect. Homonymy is incorrect because homonymy words are identical form but unrelated meanings, like bank, that is river versus financial institution, which does not apply here. And C, synonymy is incorrect because synonymy involves different words with similar meanings, such as big and large, and all examples here are the same word. Here we have another exercise, and this is about language in use with topic spoken and written discourse. A linguistic analyzes a political speech and identifies frequent use of cohesive devices such as reference, ellipsis, substitution, and conjunction, which help maintain textual unity and logical flow between ideas. These elements are evaluated as essential for recognizing textual coherence and interpreting meaning beyond sentence-level grammar. What type of linguistic features is the linguistic focusing on? A. Cohesion mechanisms, B. Syntactic rules, or C. Prosodic features. Correct answer is A. Cohesion mechanisms. This answer is because these are devices that link ideas across sentences and include reference, ellipses, and conjunctions, key tools for discourse coherence in both spoken and written texts. Syntactic rules is incorrect because syntax focuses on the internal structure of sentences and not on the interconnection between them through a discourse. C is incorrect because this refers to aspects of spoken language such as intonation, rhythm, and stress, which are not directly related to textual cohesion in writing. Now we have an exercise of language in use with the topic language and context. In a cross-cultural business negotiation, a British executive says, "We might need to revisit this proposal," intending to politely reject the offer. However, her Japanese counterpart interprets it as a willingness to keep discussing it. This misunderstanding arises from differences in indirectness, strategies, and expectations about communicative intent in interaction. What linguistic phenomenon best explains this pragmatic breakdown? A. Presuppositional failure, B. Cross-cultural pragmatic failure, or C. Semantic ambiguity. The correct answer is B. Cross-cultural pragmatic failure. Why? Because this refers to misinterpretations caused by culturally distinct uses of pragmatics, particularly in politeness, indirectness, and implicator, as seen in the mismatch between speaker intent and listener interpretation. A. Presuppositional failure is incorrect because this occurs when the background assumption of a statement is false, but here the issue is not with presupposed content, but with interpretation of intent. C. Semantic ambiguity is incorrect because semantic ambiguity involves lexical or structural meanings at sentence level, not contextual misinterpretation across cultures. This exercise is about language in use with the topic social linguistics. A social linguist studies the variable pronunciation of a post-vocalic R sound in New York English. She finds that speakers tend to pronounce R more often in formal interviews and less often in casual conversation. Moreover, speakers from higher socioeconomic backgrounds use rhotic variants more frequently than those from working-class backgrounds, showing systematic variation conditioned by style and class. What or which concept best explains the social linguistic pattern? A. Code switching. B. Register variation. Or C. Social linguistic variable. The correct answer is C. Social linguistic variable. Why? Because a social linguistic variable in a linguistic feature like our realization that varies systematically with social factors such as class, formality, or region, as demonstrated in label studies. A and B are incorrect. A. Code switching because involves alternating between distinct language or dialects within a conversation, which is not the case here. And B is incorrect also because register refers to functional language variation depending on context, like academic versus informal, but not necessarily systematic phonological patterns across social groups. This example is about general linguistics with the topic Theories of General Linguistics. A theoretical linguist is developing a model to describe universal patterns across languages. He argues that languages are dynamic systems shaped by international pressures, cognitive constraints, and frequency of use rather than fixed, innate grammatical principles, and his framework considers grammar as emergent from actual language use and social interaction. Which theoretical approach aligns with this perspective? A. Emergentism. B. Generative grammar. Or C. Structuralism. The correct answer is A. Emergentism. Emergentism views linguistic structures as arising from usage patterns, cognitive processes, and social factors, rather than from specific mental blueprints. By the way, generative grammar and structuralism are incorrect because, for example, in generative grammar, this model rooted in Chomskyan theory posits the grammar in innate and autonomous from the use or interaction, which contradicts an emergent view. And structuralism is incorrect because structuralism emphasizes language as a system of signs, but lacks a focus of usage-based grammar formation or cognitive processing. Now we have an exercise of general linguistics with the topic Theories of General Linguistics. A linguist conducts a study to explain how children across languages develop similar grammatical structures despite limited exposure to explicit instruction. He proposed that the capacity for language is a biological program and that all languages share an underlying structural design, triggered by environmental stimuli. What theoretical framework best explains the linguist approach? A. Transformational generative grammar. B. Behaviorism. Or C. Systemic functional linguistics. The correct answer is A. Transformational generative grammar, because this theory proposed by Noam Chomsky argues that humans are born with an innate universal grammar, which guides the development of grammatical structures regardless of language exposure. B. Behaviorism is incorrect because this theory sees language acquisition as the result of conditioning and imitation, disregarding internal cognitive structures, and it cannot explain spontaneous grammar generation. C. Systemic functional linguistics is incorrect also because, while insightful for analyzing language using context, this theory emphasizes social functions of language and not biological propositions or innate mental structures. This exercise is about general linguistics with the topic Concepts of General Linguistics. A linguistic researcher claims that the ability to produce and understand an unlimited number of sentences, including those never previously encountered, is a defining feature of human language. He contrasts that with communication systems in animals, which are limited to fixed signals and responses, and his focus is on the creative and recursive potential of human syntax. Which concept best describes this unique property? A. Discreteness. B. Duality of patterning. Or C. Productivity. The correct answer is productivity. Why? Because productivity refers to the capacity of human language to produce and comprehend an infinite number of novel utterances using a finite set of rules and central to generative theories. Discreteness is incorrect because discreteness refers to the idea that language is made up of separable units, such as phonemes, but it does not capture the concept of infinite generativity. And B. Duality of patterning is incorrect because this concept describes how a small number of meaningless units or phonemes can be combined into meaningful ones, like morphemes, but not the ability to generate novel sentences. Now we have another exercise of morphology and syntax with the topic Morphology of Words in the English Language. In the word unavailability, the morphological analysis reveals multiple layers of affixation that alter both meaning and grammatical category. Starting with the root believe, each affix contributes to the construction of a complex word from involving both derivational and inflectional processes. Which of the following correct reflects the hierarchical morphological structure of invalidability? A. Prefix plus derivational suffix plus root plus inflectional suffix. B. Prefix plus root plus derivational suffix plus derivational suffix. And C. Prefix plus root plus derivational suffix plus inflectional suffix. Correct answer is B. Prefix plus root plus derivational suffix plus derivational suffix. Why? Because on is prefix, plus believe is root, and plus able is derivational suffix to form adjective. Plus ity is a derivational suffix forming noun. This shows multiple layers of derivation. A and B are incorrect. A is incorrect because this ordering is illogical. Derivational suffixes do not precede the root and there is no inflectional suffix in the word. And C is also incorrect because while the first part is plausible, the final ity is derivational, not inflectional, and it changes the word class, not tense of number. Now we have this exercise of morphology and syntax with the topic Syntax in the English Language. Consider the following sentence. The student who the professor said would win the award didn't attend the ceremony. A syntactic analysis reveals multiple levels of embedding and movement, as the relative clause contains an additional clause with its own subject and verb, resulting in a complex sentence with both restrictive, modification, and argument extraction. Which of the following best describes the syntactic structure of the underlined segment? Who the professor said would win the award? A. Object relative clause with subject raising. B. Subject relative clause with center embedding. Or C. Subject complement clause with topicalization. Correct answer is B. Subject relative clause with center embedding. This is a subject relative clause modifying student with center embedding of a subordinate clause, the professor said, making the structure syntactically dense. A is incorrect because the clause modifies the subject student, not the object, and there is no raising of a subject across predicates. C is also incorrect because the clause is not complement, nor it is fronted as in topicalization. It functions as a restrictive modifier internal to the noun phrase. Now, this exercise is from the subarea Phonetics and Phonology with topic Phonetics of English. An advanced phonetic transcription of the word man as pronounced in rapid speech in the utterance. That man is smart yields mean, showing the influence of nasalization, glide insertion, and vowel rising due to the co-articulatory environment. The vowel Now we have this exercise from Phonetics and Phonology with the topic Phonetics of English. An advanced phonetic transcription of the word man, as produced in rapid speech in the utterance. That man is smart, yields mean, showing the influence of nasalization, glide insertion, and vowel rising due to the co-articulatory environment. The vowel quality deviates from the canonical A, E due to the proximity of nasal and approximant sounds, which articulatory feature primarily accounts for for the nasalization and vowel modification in this context? A. Anticipatory coarticulation affecting vowel height and nasality. B. Progressive assimilation of the alveolar nasal. Or C. Fortition triggered by stress and final position. Correct answer is A. Anticipatory coarticulation affecting vowel height and nasality. Nasal N influences the preceding vowel through anticipatory coarticulation, rising a nasaling vowel due to the airflow redirection before the nasal closure. B and C are incorrect. B. Progressive assimilation of the alveolar nasal is incorrect because progressive assimilation affects following segments. In this case, the influence is regressive from the nasal to the vowel. C is incorrect also because fortition involves strengthening of consonants, typically not applied of nasalization or vowel quality changes in medial positions. This exercise is from Phonetics and Phonology, and the topic is Phonology of English. In some varieties of English, such as African American Vernacular English, AB, and certain London dialects, the final consonant cluster in words like test or cold is often simplified in casual speech, especially when followed by a word beginning with a consonant. For example, Colfax, Colfax. This phenomenon follows a systematic pattern that affects specific phonetic environments without compromising intelligibility. Which phonological rule best explains this pattern? A. Final voicing. B. Consonant cluster reduction. Or C. Epenthesis. Correct answer is B. Consonant cluster reduction. This rule deletes one consonant from a cluster, typically in coda position, to facilitate articulation in rapid or casual speech. It is rule-governed and sensitive to phonotactic constraints. A. Final voicing is incorrect because this involves the neutralization of voice obstruents to voiceless in final position, for example D to T, but that is not the process occurring here. And C. Epenthesis is incorrect because epenthesis involves insertion of a segment like a vowel and not deletion or simplification of consonant clusters. Now, we are going to review exercises from the Area 1 Linguistics with the order format.
The next exercise: activities to develop written discourse. Sequence the following stages in the process approach to writing as commonly practiced in ESL or EFL classrooms. 1. Students edit their drafts based on peer and teacher feedback. 2. The teacher provides a writing prompt that includes a specific context and audience. 3. Students share their drafts with peers for feedback. 4. Students submit their final versions after making revisions. And 5. Students write their first drafts focusing on content, not grammar. Option A: 2, 5, 3, 1, 4. Option B: 2, 3, 5, 1, 4. Option C: 5, 3, 1, 4, 2. The correct answer is A. Let me explain. The correct sequence 2, 5, 3, 1, 4 outlines a typical process approach to writing. This starts with the teacher providing a prompt, which is 2, followed by students focusing on the content in their first drafts, which is 5. Then students engage in peer feedback, which is 3. And this leads to editing based on the feedback, which is 1. And finally, the submission of revised final version, which is 4. This sequence emphasizes the importance of content generation, feedback, and revision in the development of written discourse. The next exercise. Arrange the following steps in the order they would typically occur in a lesson based on the communicative language teaching, or CLT, approach. 1. Students perform a role-play activity using the target language structures. 2. The teacher introduces a situation where the language will be used. 3. Students complete a worksheet to practice new language structure. 4. the teacher presents the new language structure in the context. The options: A. 2, 4, 3, 1. B. 4, 2, 1, 3. C. 2, 4, 1, 3. The correct answer is A. Let me explain. The correct sequence, A, reflects the typical order of activities in a CLT lesson. The lesson starts with introducing a situation, which is 2, where the language will be used is followed by presenting the new language structure in the context, which is 4. After understanding the context and the structure, students practice the new language structure through a controlled activity, like a worksheet, which is 3, and finally they apply what they have learned in a more free-form activity, such as a role play, which is 1, and this allows for authentic use of the language. Let's move to the next exercise. Strategies for vocabulary teaching. A language educator is designing a unit plan to enhance vocabulary acquisition among intermediate level students. Which of the following activities would best support students' ability to learn and retain new vocabulary words? Select all that apply. 1. Encouraging students to create their own sentences using new vocabulary words. 2. Assigning the memorization of word lists without context. 3. Integrating new vocabulary into speaking and writing activities. 4. Using flashcards with words and definitions only. And 5. Organizing vocabulary words into thematic clusters and engaging students in related tasks. Here we have 3 options. Option A, 1, 3, and 5. Option B, 2 and 4. Option C, 1, 2, and 4. The correct answer in this case is A. Let me explain. Options 1, 3, and 5 are effective strategies for vocabulary teaching and learning. Creating sentences with the new words helps students apply vocabulary in the context. This will enhance the retention. Integrating vocabulary into speaking and writing activities ensures practical use and deeper learning. Organizing words into thematic clusters facilitates the understanding of new words through associations and contextual relevance. So it will be easier for students to learn and remember the vocabulary. The next exercise: strategies for teaching pronunciation. A teacher is planning to incorporate pronunciation activities into the language curriculum to help students improve their ability to pronounce English sounds accurately. Which of the following strategies should the teacher include? Select all that apply. 1. Using minimal pairs to help students distinguish between the similar sounds. 2. Encouraging students to memorize the phonetic alphabet. 3. Implementing shadowing exercises where students mimic spoken language from audio recordings. 4. Correcting every single pronunciation error immediately to ensure accuracy. And 5. Utilizing tongue twisters to practice specific sounds and rhythm. Here we have 3 options. Option A, 1, 3, and 5. Option B, 2 and 4. Option C, 1, 4, and 2. The correct answer is A. Let me explain why. The strategies 1, 3, and 5 are effective for teaching pronunciation. Using minimal pairs helps students distinguish between similar sounds, which is crucial for accurate pronunciation. Shadowing exercises allow students to practice the rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation of the language in a more natural context. Tongue twisters are a fun and engaging way to practice specific sounds and rhythm, making them a valuable tool for improving pronunciation.
This exercise is from the sub-area Morphology and Syntax about the topic Morphology of Words in the English Language. Order the steps to analyze the morphological structure of a complex word using the morphemic analysis method. Well, we have here the different elements. We're going to order them about the correct answer. We can see that the correct answer is C. That exposes that the sequence is 1, 2, 3, 5, and 4. So, this is the correct sequence. Let's check it. Okay, it says that first is identify the root morpheme, that is C. 2. Determine the derivational affixes. 3. Classify inflectional affixes, if any. 5. Like we can see here, establish the order in which morphemes are attached. And finally, 4. Determine the lexical category of the base word. This is the correct sequence: root identification, followed by the derivational and inflectional affixes, then morpheme attachment order, and finally categorization. Now we have this exercise from the topic Syntax in the English Language. We can see that the correct answer is A, with this sequence 4, 1, 2, 3, 5. Let's check it out. 4. Identify sequence sentence constituents. As we can see, A is the correct. Identify sentence constituents. 1. Apply substitution test like pronoun, perform, or do so. 2. Conduct movements test like lefting and fronting. 3. Examine coordination possibilities. And finally 5. Test for sentence parsing alternatives. This sequence is correct because this is the appropriate order. First, identify constituents, then apply substitution, movement, and coordination test, and finally evaluate parsing interpretations. Order the analytical steps to determine the morphemic structure of a complex English word in a linguistic study. We can see that the correct answer is A. This is 2, 1, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 2. Determine the root morpheme. 1. Identify all bound and free morphemes. 3. Analyze derivational affixes. 4. Analyze inflectional affixes. And 5. Establish the morphological rules applied. This is the correct sequence because first the root is identified, followed by the classification of morphemes, analysis of derivational and inflectional affixes, and concluding with the morphological rules involved. Order the steps in the syntactic analysis of an ambiguous English sentence using a generative grammar approach. The correct answer is A. We can see that it's 1, 4, 2, 3, and 5. The sentence or the sequence is: first, 1. Identify all lexical categories involved. 4. Apply phrase structure rules. 2. Draw 3 structures for all possible parses. 3. Recognize the source of ambiguity. And 5. Determine the intended interpretation based on context. This is the correct sequence because it begins with identifying lexical categories, applies phrase structure rules to build parses and analyzes ambiguity, and ends by resolving it using context. Order the steps requiring to conduct a morphological analysis of a complex English word, for example, unavailability using a derivational morphology approach. The correct answer is A. This is 1, 2, 4, 3, 5. First, 1. Determine the root or base morpheme. 2. Identify and classify all affixes like prefixes and suffixes. 4. Determine the word class after each affixation. 3. Analyze the word's internal hierarchical structure. And 5. Interpret the overall meaning of the word. Correct answer is A. The sequence is because first the base is identified, then the affixes are classified, and the word class is checked at each stage. Hierarchical structure is analyzed, and the final meaning is interpreted. This exercise is also from the topic Syntax in the English Language. Order the stages followed in a minimalist program, syntactic derivation according to the Chomsky framework. The correct answer is A. 1, 2, 5, 3, 4. A. 1. Select lexical items from the lexicon. 2. Apply merge to build structure. 5. Perform feature checking and agreement operations. 3. Move constituents to satisfy syntactic features. And 4. Spell out sense structure to PF and LF interfaces. Correct answer is A, because the derivation begins with lexical selection, proceeds through structure building like merge, feature checking movement to meet feature requirements, and ends with spell out. This exercise is from the topic Phonology of English. Order the steps a phonologist follows to analyze a phonological alteration pattern, plural S, the, and this, using a rule-based generative phonology approach. The correct answer is A. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's check it out. 1. Identify the surface like phonetic forms of alternants. 2. Determine the phonological environment of each alternant. 3. Postulate an underlying representation. 4. Formulate phonological rules that derive in surface forms. And 5. Test the rules for generality and exceptions. This sequence is correct because this is the standard approach. Observe phonetic data, identify environments, hypothesize underlying forms, propose rules, and evaluate them. This exercise is from the topic Phonology of English. Order the steps used in the analysis of syllable structure in English, focusing on the identification of permissible sound combinations and syllable boundaries. Correct answer is A. This is 2, 1, 4, 3, 5. Let's check it out. 2. Segment the utterance into individual phones. 1. Identify the sonority peak in each syllable. 4. Apply the sonority sequence principle to test firmness. 3. Analyze syllable boundaries using the maximal onset principle. And 5. Determine onset, nucleus, and coda for each syllable. So, the correct answer is A. The sequence is this because phones are segmented first and then sonority peaks are identified. The sonority sequence principle guides syllable shape, followed by boundary analysis and final parsing into consonants. For example, B and C are incorrect, because identifying peaks before segmenting phones lacks foundation, and applying boundary principles before sonority violates methodological order. C is incorrect because applying sonority rules before identifying peaks and boundaries results in a circular analysis and misses foundational ordering. This example is from the topic Phonology of English. Order the steps used in the analysis of syllable structure in English, focusing on the identification of permissible sound combination and syllable boundaries. Correct answer is A. This is 2, 1, 4, 3, 5. This is 2. Segment the utterance into individual phones. 1. Identify the sonority peak in each syllable. 4. Apply the sonority sequencing principle to test well-formedness. 3. Analyze syllable boundaries using the maximal onset principle. And 5. Determine onset, nucleus, and coda for each syllable. Okay, we checked something very similar before, so we are going to pass to the next exercise. This exercise is from the topic Lexis and Vocabulary in the English Language. Order the steps to develop a pedagogical vocabulary profile for learners in English, focusing on word selection based on frequency and communicative relevance. Correct answer, as we can see, is A. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's check it out. 1. Select a representative language corpus. 2. Analyze word frequency and distribution. 3. Identify high utility lexical item across context. 4. Classify vocabulary by C, E, F, R or proficiency level. And 5. Adapt the word list for instructional purposes. The correct answer is like this. Sequence because the process begins with the corpus selection, followed by frequency analysis, lexical prioritization, level classification, and didactic adaptation. B and C are incorrect because starting analysis without corpus selection undermines empirical validity. Adapting content before classification leads to instructional inconsistencies. And C is also incorrect because prioritizing lexical items before knowing their frequency may lead to arbitrary inclusion or exclusion in the final list. And finally, we can see this exercise from the topic Analysis of Spoken and Written Discourse. Order the analytical steps used to examine coherence and cohesion in a written academic test. Correct answer is A. Is 1, 3, 2, 4, and 5. Let's check it out. 1. Identify cohesive devices such as reference, substitution, and conjunction. 3. Evaluate paragraph-level logical relations. 2. Analyze the macrostructure and topic progression. 4. Check for consistency of register and discourse markers. And 5. Assesses overall coherence and communicative effectiveness. B is incorrect and also C because starting with macrostructure before analyzing cohesion limits identification of local textual ties necessary for full disclosure in discourse interpretation. And logical paragraph analysis must precede register checks as coherence emerges through both form and function integration. Now we will go over exercises from the Area 1 Linguistics in the matching format, that is, relation of elements, where you are asked to connect related concepts of ideas. We can see this exercise from the sub-area Language Teaching Methodology of the topic Use of Visual Aids in ELT. Match the type of visual organizer to its communicative function. We have this column and this visual organizer and communicative function. We can see that the correct answer is B. Let's check it out. First, we have in the visual organizer 1 mind map that match with D, that is, to connect central and related concepts in a non-linear fashion. 2. Flowchart with C, to display a sequence of actions or decisions in a process. 3. Venn diagram with A, to show overlapping characteristics or shared and unique features. And finally, 4. Timeline with B, to represent chronological order of events. The correct answer is this because each visual is accurately related to its function. Mind maps connect to concepts, flowcharts to show process steps, Venn diagrams illustrate shared and unique traits, and timeless reflect sequence. A and C are incorrect. A because the flowchart and Venn diagram are correctly matched, but a mind map does not classify contrasting ideas in columns, and timelines are used for chronological rather than comparative purposes. And C is also incorrect because each pairing is mismatched. The functions do not align with the intended instructional purpose of the visual organizers. This exercise is from the topic Use of Visual Aids in ELT. Match the type of visual material to the instructional goal it best supports in ESL, EFL classroom. As we can see, the correct answer is A. Let's check it out. The visual material 1. Infographic match with B. Present factual data through concise visuals. 2. Flashcards with D. Drill discrete lexical items rapidly. 3. Comic strip with C. Encourage inference making and narrative reconstruction. And 4. Word cloud with A. Reinforce vocabulary and demonstrate semantic relations. The sequence is, or the match is correct because infographics represent or present data effectively. Flashcards are ideal for lexical drills. Comic strips support inferencing and storytelling, and word clouds show vocabulary clusters. While B and C are incorrect because flashcards are not designed for semantic grouping and word clouds are not typically used for inferencing narratives. And C is also incorrect because word clouds are not effective for lexical drills and comic strips do not primarily serve procedural explanation. This exercise is from the topic Instructional Techniques for Language Skills. Match the instructional technique with the language skill it primarily enhances. We can see that the correct answer is A. So we can see that the correct match is this, and we have the instructional technique and the language skill. The instructional technique 1 is dictogloss matched with B, that is integrating note-taking, listening accuracy, and text reform. While 2 is running dictation with E, fostering active listening with kinesthetic engagement. 3. Information gap activity with C, promoting oral fluency through interactive meaning negotiation. And finally 4. Just chance, developing awareness of prosody, stress, and pronunciation. The match is correct because this dictogloss targets listening, note-taking, and reconstruction. Running dictation engages learners physically while decoding speech. Information gaps foster interaction. Just chance enhance suprasegmental features. While B and C are incorrect. This exercise is from the topic Varieties of English. Match each English variety to its defining characteristic. We have the correct answer like A, and we can see that the correct match is like this. The variety of English, Indian English, matched with the influence from Tamil and Hindi, retroflex consonants, distinctive use of articles. 2. Singapore English, with the substrate influence from Chinese and Malay, pragmatic particles like la and me. 3. African American Vernacular English, AAVE, with C, is the use of habitual B, absence of third person S, and consonant closer reduction. And finally 4. American English, with A, rhotic accent, use of Goethe lexical influence from German and Dutch. Well, we can see here why the correct match is like this, while B and C are incorrect.
Now we are reviewing exercises from the Area 2 Principles of the Teaching and Learning, of course of direct questioning format. As you can remember, in the corner, left upper corner, we can find the sub-area and topic about which area is about the exercise. Ahead we can see the options and the explanations, as we can see. Okay, let's start. This exercise is from the sub-area Online Learning and Distance Education, with the topic Elements of Online and Distance Teaching and Learning. An online English teacher uses pre-recorded videos, interactive quizzes, real-time forums, and collaborative writing tools in a virtual learning environment. However, learners report feeling isolated and disengaged despite the variety of content. Which key component of effective distance education is most likely missing? A. Transactional presence, B. Cognitive scaffolding, or C. Multimodal input. Okay, as we can see, the option A is correct, transactional presence. This concept refers to the feeling of connectedness and reciprocal communication between learners and instructors. Despite rich content, students feel disconnected from others and the teacher engagement drops. B. Cognitive scaffolding is incorrect because this involves structuring learning tasks for intellectual support. There is no mention of difficulty understanding content, only emotional and motivational distance. And C. Multimodal input is incorrect because the course already includes various media, videos, quizzes, and tools, suggesting that the issue is not lack of input variety, but the absence of a relational component. Now, let's check about this exercise from the sub-area Psychology with the topic Educational Psychology. A high school teacher applies metacognitive strategies in her English classes to help learners monitor their own understanding while reading academic texts. She models how to ask reflective questions such as, "Do I understand this paragraph?" or "What should I do if I get confused?" The goal is to increase students' independence in tackling difficult tasks. Which theoretical approach most directly supports this strategy? A. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, B. Constructivist cognitive theory, or C. behaviorist theory. The correct answer is B, constructivist cognitive theory. This theory promotes active knowledge construction through self-regulation and metacognition, helping learners become autonomous and reflective thinkers. By the way, A and C are incorrect. Vygotsky's sociocultural theory is incorrect because while it emphasizes scaffolding and the zone of proximal development, it focuses more on the social interaction than internal metacognitive control. While C, behaviorist theory is incorrect because behaviorism centers on stimulus-response learning and reinforcement, lacking emphasis on internal cognitive strategies like metacognition. Now let's check about this exercise from the subarea Online Learning and Distance Education and the topic ICTs applied to teaching and learning. A language instructor integrates a learning management system (LMS), an AI-powered writing assistant, and real-time formative assessment tools into their English as a Foreign Language (EFL) course. However, the teacher notices that despite the abundance of technology, students are not engaging in metacognitive reflection or autonomous learning. Which instructional strategy should the teacher prioritize to effectively align ICT integration with learner autonomy? A. Explicit metacognitive modeling. B. Gamification with point-based rewards. Or C. Increased synchronous lecture time. Correct answer is A. Explicit metacognitive modeling. Metacognitive modeling helps learners reflect on their own thinking, planning, and learning strategies. When paired with ICT, it turns passive technology use into active self-regulation, while gamification with point-based rewards and increased synchronous lecture time are incorrect, because gamification, while it can increase participation, gamification does not necessarily foster reflection or learner autonomy. It often externalizes motivation. While C is like adding more live sessions may increase information delivery, but then does not address the root issue, lack of self-directed learning and reflection on process. Now let's check about this exercise from the subarea Second Language Acquisition with the topic Inter-language and error analysis. A language teacher notices that an adult learner of English consistently produces utterances such as "she go to school every day" and "he like pizza." Despite frequent correction and repeated exposure to the correct forms, the learner continues making the same subject-verb agreement errors. Which concept best explains the learner's persistent use of these incorrect forms? A. Fossilization. B. Transfer. Or C. Overgeneralization. Correct answer A. Fossilization. Fossilization refers to the process in which incorrect linguistic features become a permanent part of the learner's interlanguage despite exposure and correction. This explains why the error persists. While transfer and overgeneralization are incorrect. Transfer occurs when a learner applies rules to their first language, but subject-verb agreement errors like this often arise internally, not from L1 influence. Overgeneralization is incorrect because while learner may generalize rules, for example using regular past tense or irregular verbs, this case shows persistence rather than the extension of a rule, pointing to fossilization. This exercise is from the subarea Didactics with the topic Teaching Theories, Strategies and Techniques. A teacher adopts an approach in which learners work collaboratively to discover grammar rules based on authentic language samples. Instead of directly teaching structures, the teacher guides learners to induce patterns through analysis and group discussion. What teaching approach is the teacher using? A. Discovery learning. B. Direct instruction. Or C. Behaviorist conditioning. The correct answer is A. Discovery learning. This approach is grounded in constructivist theory, where students actively build knowledge through exploration. The emphasis on inductive analysis and peer interaction aligns with discovery-based pedagogy. B. Direct instruction is incorrect because this method involves explicit teaching of rules and structures, typically through teacher-centered exposition, which contrasts with the exploratory nature described in this scenario. C. Behaviorist conditioning is incorrect, is rooted in stimulus-response learning. This theory emphasizes repetition, drills, and external reinforcement rather than internal analysis or cognitive construction of rules. This exercise is from the sub-area Didactics with the topic Lesson Planning. A teacher designs a lesson plan that begins with students reflecting on prior knowledge, then presenting new content through an engaging task, followed by guided practice, independent production, and finally a reflection stage. What lesson planning model is most consistent with this sequence? A. ESA, Engage, Study, Activate. B. PPP, Presentation, Practice and Production. Or C. Experiential Learning Cycle. The correct answer is C. Experiential Learning Cycle. This is developed by Kolb, and this model follows a cyclical structure: concrete experience, reflective observation, abstract conceptualization, and active experimentation, matching the stages described in the plan. While A and B are incorrect. ESA is incorrect because although this model includes engaging learners and encouraging activation, it does not emphasize reflection or metacognition as a formal stage, which is central in the described plan. While B, PPP, is incorrect because this linear model lacks reflection and connection to prior knowledge and focuses primarily on controlled practice and accurate language use. This exercise is also from the sub-area Didactics with the topic Classroom Management. A language teacher introduces routines, sets clear expectations, organizes classroom space to support group work, and adapts interactions based on learners' emotional states and participation levels. The goal is to promote autonomy while maintaining a supportive learning atmosphere. Which classroom management approach is the teacher most likely applying? A. Assertive discipline. B. Humanistic classroom management. Or C. Behaviorist classroom management. The correct answer is B. Humanistic classroom management. This approach emphasizes learner autonomy, emotional climate, and respectful teacher-student relationships, promoting both structure and psychological support in learning. While A and C are incorrect. Assertive discipline is incorrect because this model focuses on establishing clear rules and consequences through a firm teacher stance, often prioritizing control over student-centered adaptation. It lacks emotional responsiveness and flexibility. While behaviorist classroom management is incorrect because, grounded in operant conditioning, this model emphasizes external reinforcement and punishment rather than emotional attunement or autonomy building. This exercise is from the sub-area Curriculum and Syllabus Design with the topic Principles of Curriculum and Syllabus Design. A curriculum designer is tasked with developing an English program for adult learners focused on communication in real-life context. The program is centered on learner needs, integrates functional language tasks, and aligns objectives with social uses of language rather than grammatical progression. Which syllabus design best aligns with this approach? A. Structural syllabus. B. Task-based syllabus. Or C. Situational syllabus. The correct answer is B. Task-based syllabus. This design focuses on learners completing meaningful tasks using the target language, prioritizing communication and contextual application, which matches the real-life, function-oriented goals. While A and C are incorrect. The structural syllabus is incorrect because this type of syllabus organizes content around grammatical structures and forms, which does not meet the communicative or contextual priorities of the program. While C, situational syllabus, is incorrect while it emphasizes context, it organizes lessons around predictable situations, like at the bank, and not around tasks or learner-centered interaction patterns. This exercise is from the sub-area Evaluation and Assessment, with the topic Principles of Evaluation and Assessment. An English teacher is revising her evaluation system to ensure it aligns with current principles of authentic assessment. She wants to move away from solely multiple choice tests and include evaluations that reflect real language use in context, such as oral presentations, portfolios, and peer assessments. Which principle of assessment is she primarily embracing? A. Validity, B. Authenticity, or C. Reliability? Correct answer is B. Authenticity. Authentic assessment emphasizes real-life relevance, using language in meaningful context, such as presentations and collaborative tasks closely mirroring actual language use. Validity is incorrect because while validity ensures the test measures what it intends to, this option is too general and does not specifically address the real-world, contextual nature of tasks. And C. Reliability is incorrect because reliability concerns consistency of scoring across different occasions or others, which is important but not the focus of incorporating performance-based tasks. Now, this exercise is from the Subaru Evaluation and Assessments with the topic Evaluation Instruments. A teacher of English as a foreign language needs to assess students' speaking ability across a large class. She requires an instrument that allows for consistent criteria, transparent expectations, and efficient grading, while still fostering learners' autonomy and self-monitoring. Which assessment tool best fulfills these requirements? A. Analytical rubric, B. Closed tests, or C. Anecdotal records? Correct answer A. Analytical rubric. An analytical rubric breaks down performance into separate assessable criteria, like fluency, accuracy, and pronunciation, ensuring objectivity and transparency while supporting self-assessment and feedback. Closed test is incorrect because this is a type of reading or grammar assessment not suitable for evaluating oral production or promoting learner autonomy in speaking tasks. And anecdotal records is incorrect because, though useful for qualitative feedback, they lack standardization and are not time-efficient for large groups or performance-based grading. This exercise is from the Subaru Evaluation and Assessment with the topic Principles of Evaluation and Assessment. An EFL teacher designs an exam aligned with the course objectives and teaching methodology. The exam includes the multiple-choice questions, an oral interview, and writing task. However, after administering the test, several students with high-class performance failed, and some low-performing students succeed unexpectedly. Which principle of assessment has most likely been compromised? A. Validity, B. Practicality, or C. Washback? Correct answer is A. Validity. Validity refers to whether an assessment measures what it is intended to measure. If student performance in class does not correlate with test outcomes, construed validity is questionable. Perhaps the test tasks do not truly reflect the skills emphasized in instruction. B. Practicality is incorrect because practicality relates to feasibility, time, and resources. Even if the test was logistically viable, it may still fail to assess the intended learning outcomes. And washback is incorrect because washback refers to how assessment influences teaching and learning, while poor test results might lead to negative washback. It is a consequence, not the primary compromise principle in this scenario. This exercise is from the Subaru Psychology and the topic is Development Psychology. A language teacher working with a 12-year-old students notices that they can now handle abstract grammatical concepts like conditional structures and subjecting mood. These learners also begin to justify their opinions and reason hypothetically during class discussions. The teacher adjusts their methodology to include more problem-solving and deductive reasoning tasks. According to Piaget's theory, what cognitive stage best describes the learner's current development? A. Concrete operational stage, B. Formal operational stage, or C. Pre-operational stage? The correct answer is B. Formal operational stage. The formal operational stage, from approximately 12 years onward, allows learners to think abstractly, reason logically, and consider hypothetical scenarios, exactly the skills the teacher observes. A. Concrete operational stage is incorrect because this stage typically between age 7 and 11 is marked by logical reasoning tied to concrete objects, but not abstract or hypothetical thought. And C. Pre-operational stage is incorrect because this stage occurs between ages 2 to 7 and is characterized by egocentrism and intuitiveness rather than logical reasoning, unsuitable for the context. Let's check now this exercise from the sub-area Evaluation and Assessment with the topic Evaluation Instruments. An English teacher needs to measure the student's mastery of specific grammatical structures immediately after a focused instructional session. The goal is to obtain quantitative data for grading purposes. She requires a tool that is standardized, reliable, and can be easily administered across groups for comparative analysis. Which of the following evaluation instruments is most appropriate for this purpose? A. Achievement test, B. Diagnostic test, or C. Portfolio assessment. The correct answer is A. Achievement test. Achievement test assess how much students have learned in relation to defined objectives. They are standardized, objective, and useful for grading after instruction. B. Diagnostic test is incorrect because these are administered before instruction to identify learning difficulties and not to evaluate outcomes post-instruction. And C. Portfolio assessment is incorrect because while valuable for assessing progress and creativity, portfolios are subjective, time-consuming, and not ideal for immediate standardized grading. This exercise is from the sub-area Online Learning and Distance Education, and the topic is ICTs applied to teaching and learning. A teacher in a blended learning environment wants to facilitate real-time peer collaboration, promote autonomous learning, and integrate multimodal context like text, audio, video, and hyperlinks into an ongoing writing assignment. Which of the following tools best aligns with these pedagogical goals? A. Google Docs, B. Kahoot, or C. Moodle quizzes. Correct answer is A. Google Docs. Google Docs allows synchronous and asynchronous collaboration, supports embedding of multimedia, and enables real-time editing, and commenting, ideal for peer-driven writing tasks. Kahoot is incorrect because Kahoot is effective for formative assessment through gamification but lacks support for collaborative writing and multimodal content creation. And Moodle quizzes is incorrect because Moodle quizzes are designed for structured assessment and not collaborative writing or integration of rich media in the same document. This exercise is from the sub-area Online Learning and Distance Education, and the topic is Elements of Online and Distance Teaching and Learning. A course designer is developing an asynchronous online program for adult learners with diverse schedules and limited technological skills. The goal is to foster learner autonomy, ensure cognitive engagement, and provide supportive scaffolding without overwhelming students. According to best practices in online pedagogy, which instructional design element is most critical to prioritize? A. Structured modular content with guided navigation. B. Mandatory discussion forums with daily participation. Or C. Advanced gamified simulations with time-bound challenges. Correct answer is A. Structured modular content with guided navigation. This approach promotes learner autonomy while providing clear paths on scaffolding, especially essential for adult learners managing time independently and unfamiliar with digital platforms. While mandatory discussion forums with daily participation and advanced gamified simulations with time-bound challenges are incorrect, because first, while interaction is important, daily posting demands can increase cognitive load and encourage participation among adults with limited availability. And C is incorrect because gamification may be engaging, but for learners with low-tech skills, complex simulations can create frustration and act as a barrier rather than a support. And finally, this exercise is from the sub-area Evaluation and Assessment, from the topic Principles of Evaluation and Assessment.
A language teacher wants to assess students' communicative competence in real-life scenarios. She selects assessment tasks that involve spontaneous interaction, negotiation of meaning, and contextually appropriate use of language. According to current assessment theory, what type of assessment is she applying? A. Performance-based assessment, B. Summative assessment, or C. Placement assessment. The correct answer is A. Performance-based assessment. The explanation is that this type of assessment evaluates learners through real-world tasks that require application of language in context, aligning perfectly with communicative competence and authentic language use. The summative assessment is incorrect because summative assessments evaluate learning at the end of a unit or course, often through standardized formats and do not necessarily involve authentic or interactive tasks. And finally, placement assessment is incorrect also because placement tests are diagnostic tools used to assign learners to appropriate course levels and do not typically assess functional or communicative use in context. And now, let's review some of the exercise with the order format of the Area 2 Principles of Teaching and Learning. This exercise is from the sub-area Didactics with the topic Teaching Theories, Strategies and Techniques. Order the steps of a teacher should follow when applying the inquiry-based learning (IBL) strategy to foster critical thinking in upper intermediate ESL students. Well, we see that the correct answer is A, that is 2, 5, 1, 3, 4 sequence. Let's check it out. First, number 2 is present a real-world problem or puzzling scenario. 5, encourage reflection and connection to prior knowledge. 1, guide students to formulate their own research question. 3, support exploration of information and hypothesis formation. And 4, facilitate the presentation of findings and conclusions. IBL begins by presenting a challenge, then activating prior knowledge, followed by student-driven question formulation, guided exploration, and shared conclusions. While B and C are incorrect sequences because B is question formulation cannot precede the context of inquiry and the problem must be introduced first. Well, sequence C is also incorrect because although activating prior knowledge is essential, skipping the exploration before presenting results leads to superficial analysis. And finally, we have this second example of exercise of the sub-area Didactics with the topic Motivation in Teaching and Learning. Order the sequence of actions a teacher should take to implement a motivational strategy based on self-determination theory (SDT) to foster student autonomy in a communicative language class. Okay, we can see that the correct option sequence is A, that is 2, 3, 1, 4, 5. Let's check it out. First, 2 is to create a supportive classroom climate that values student input. Following that of 3, that is explain the rationale behind tasks to enhance internalization. 1, provide learners with meaningful choices in learning activities. 4, avoid controlling language and focus on student self-direction. And 5, encourage reflection on personal progress and intrinsic goals. The correct answer is explained because establishing a supporting climate comes first, followed by explaining tasks to boost internal motivation, then giving choices, avoiding control, and promoting reflection aligned with SDT principles. While sequences B and C are incorrect because rationale without a supportive climate may seem imposed, ending with avoidance of control undermines autonomy development. And C is also incorrect because offering choices at the start without context or rationale may confuse learners and reduce effectiveness of intrinsic engagement. And now, we will go over the exercises from Area 2, Principles of Teaching and Learning, and this is the matching format, that is relation of elements, where you are asked to connect related concepts of ideas. Well, as you can see, we have these columns and we need to match the concepts between this part and this part. Okay, let's check it out. This exercise is from the sub-area Didactics and the topic is Teaching Theories, Strategies and Techniques. It says, match each teaching theory with its corresponding instructional strategy. So we can see that the correct answer is A,
that says that the correct match is this. So we see the teaching theory, behaviorism, that matches with the instructional strategy, that is modeling, reinforcement, and structures drills, like here. 2. Constructivism is B, with hands-on task, problem solving, and discovery learning. 3. Humanism, learner autonomy, self-assessment, and emotional engagement. 4. Cognitivism is for scaffolding, concept mapping, and information processing, and connectivism is matched with use of digital networks and collaborative learning platforms. Okay, we can see that each theory is correctly linked. Behaviorism uses drills. Constructivism promotes active learning. Humanism emphasizes emotional involvement. Cognitivism focuses on mental processes, and connectivism integrates digital networks. This match and also this match are incorrect because behaviorism and constructivism are swapped. Humanism misaligns with scaffolding, which belongs to cognitivism. And C is also incorrect because constructivism does not prioritize emotional engagement, and that's humanism. And humanism is incorrectly associated with task-based discovery. Now, this example of exercise is also from didactics, and the topic is motivation and teaching and learning. Here we can see that it says, match each motivational theory with its corresponding educational application. So, we can see that the correct answer is also the A. So, we match the concepts. Here we have the motivational theory and the educational application. So, self-determination theory matched with focusing on autonomy, competence, and relatedness. 2. Attribution theory with E, explaining student effort based on perceived causes of success. 3. Goal orientation theory with D, promoting mastery or performance goals. 4. Expectancy value theory with A, emphasizing attainable goals and expectancy of success. And finally, behaviorist theory with C, this providing external incentives to shape desired behaviors. So, we can see the explanation that self-determination theory promotes autonomy and relatedness. Attribution theory addresses perceived causes. Goal orientation theory distinguishes types of goal focus. Expectancy value links success expectation to value. And behaviorist theory centers on reinforcement. Well, options B and C are incorrect because self-determination is mismatched with expectancy, and attribution theory is confused with relational focus. Goal and attribution applications are swapped. And also the option C is incorrect because only behaviorist theory is correctly paired. Others are misaligned, particularly confusing motivation from intrinsic and extrinsic standpoints. Now we have this exercise from the sub-area Curriculum and Syllabus Design, and the topic is Principles of Curriculum and Syllabus Design. Match each curriculum design principle with each correct description. So, we have the correct answer, that is C, and let's check it out. We can see that 1. The curriculum principle, that is vertical articulation, match with C, that guarantees progressive development of content across educational stages. 2 is relevance, that matches with A, aligns curriculum content with learners' real-world context and needs. 3. Continuity with D, provides recurring exposure to key concepts over time. 4. Balance with B, ensures content builds logically from simpler to more complex levels. And finally, 5. Integration with E, promotes connections across subjects for holistic understanding. So, vertical articulation aligns with progressive development, relevance reflects real-world alignment, continuity involves repeated exposure, balance involves proportional content difficulty, and integration links subject areas. While A and B are incorrect, because most pairings are accurate, but balance is misattributed to integration, and integration is wrongly defined as progression. While in B, relevance is confused with difficulty hierarchy, and continuity is not about contextual learning. Now we have this exercise from psychology and educational psychology. Match each learning theory with its corresponding principle or emphasis. So, we have the correct answer, that is A, and let's pass these pages as we follow all the exercise. So, we have Correct answer A. So, behaviorism is matched with this principle or emphasis that is knowledge is constructed through social interaction and cultural mediation. Next, we have 2, constructivism with E. Learners build internal representations through experience and exploration. 3, with B. Cognitivism with mental processes such as memory and attention shape learning. 4, humanism with D. Learners are active agents striving for self-actualization and autonomy. And finally 5, social theory with A. Knowledge is constructed through social interaction and cultural mediation. Okay, let's check this exercise from evaluation and assessment with the topic evaluation instruments. Match each evaluation instrument with its most appropriate description or function. We have this option A as correct, and let's check it out. We see evaluation instrument rubric and describes the match with B that provides specific criteria-based feedback on performance at varying levels of quality. While 2, checklist with D records presence or absence of required elements or behaviors. 3, rating scale with C indicates degree of frequency of behavior, skills or traits. 4, learning log with A gathers student perceptions and self-awareness about learning progress. And finally 5, diagnostic test with E because identifies students' prior knowledge and learning difficulties before instruction. So, rubrics define performance quality, checklist, tracking elements presence, rating scales, capture frequency intensity, learning logs, gather student reflections, diagnostic tests, assessment initial knowledge gaps. B and C are incorrect because rubrics are not self-perceptive tools, logs don't test prior knowledge, and rating scales and checklists are confused. And C is incorrect because rubrics are misidentified as binary records, rating scales, and do not gather linear reflections, and the test is inconsistent. Now, let's check exercises from the Area 3 English Language Teaching from the format of direct questioning. As you can remember, in the left upper corner of each of our exercises, you can see the sub-area and topic about the exercise that we are reviewing. So, here's the exercise, the options, and after that we can check the explanation. At this moment, Sofiia is going to explain some exercises, and after Sofiia, me, Rodrigo, is going to explain the other exercises. So, keep watching.
Let's move to the next exercise. Types of studies. In the University of Toronto, a language educator is planning to conduct a study on the effectiveness of immersive language learning environments. She aims to compare students' language proficiency outcomes between traditional classroom settings and immersion programs. Which type of study is educator planning to conduct? Option A, qualitative, B, quantitative, C, mixed methods. The correct answer is B. Let me explain. The educator's study focuses on comparing language proficiency outcomes, which involves collecting and analyzing the numerical data to assess the effectiveness of different learning environments. This approach is characteristic of quantitative research. Let's move to the next exercise. A university researcher in Melbourne is conducting a study on the effectiveness of immersive language learning environments compared to traditional classroom settings. The study involves observing student interactions, interviewing participants about their experiences, and analyzing the language proficiency test results before and after the immersion program. This study is an example of Option A, purely quantitative research. Option B, purely qualitative research. Option C, mixed methods research. The correct answer is C. Let me explain. The described study incorporates both qualitative methods, such as observing students' interactions and interviewing participants, and quantitative methods, such as analyzing language proficiency test results. This is performed to investigate the effectiveness of immersive language learning environments. This combination of methodologies indicates that this study is an example of mixed methods research, providing a comprehensive view of the immersive language experience and its outcomes. Let's move to the next exercise. Action research. A teacher in a rural school in England conducts action research to integrate digital tools in her English classes. After several cycles of planning, action, observation, and reflection, she measures the impact on student engagement and learning outcomes. Complete the missing steps in the action research cycle she followed. Plan, observe, and reflect. Option A. Act. Option B. Analyze. Option C. Conclude. The correct answer is option A. Let me explain. The missing step in the action research cycle is act. Action research involves a cycle of planning, acting or implementing the plan, observing the effects of the action, and reflecting on these observations to plan further action. This cyclic process is aimed at continuous improvement. Let's move to the next exercise. During the lesson on writing skills in a high school in California, a teacher provides feedback to her students' essays. Arrange the feedback steps she takes in a manner that promotes constructive learning. 1. Highlights areas of improvement. 2. Provides examples of good writing from the essays. 3. Offers specific suggestions for each area of improvement. 4. Encourages students to revise their essays based on the feedback. Option A. 2, 1, 3, 4. Option B. 1, 3, 2, 4. Option C. 3, 1, 2, 4. And option D. 4, 3, 2, 1. The correct answer is A. Let me explain. Effective feedback starts by acknowledging strengths, then identifying the areas that need improvement, offering specific suggestions to make those improvements, and finally, encouraging students to apply the feedback in their revisions. Let's move to the next exercise. In a language learning center in London, an instructor observes a noticeable decline in student engagement and participation in a class designed for adult learners. To address this issue, the constructor plans to implement a strategy that involves personalizing learning activities, incorporating students' interests and backgrounds to the curriculum, and providing positive feedback for participation. The instructor also intends to use a variety of interactive teaching methods to cater to different learning styles and increase the level of students' motivation. Which of the following theories of motivation is the instructor planning to apply most directly with this strategy? Option A. Extrinsic motivation by solely offering rewards for high grades. Option B. Intrinsic motivation by connecting the learning content with students' personal interests. Option C. Avoidance theory by penalizing non-participation. Option D. Competition-based motivation by encouraging rivalry among students. The correct answer here is B. Let me explain. The strategy described involves personalizing learning activities to include students' interests and backgrounds, providing positive feedback, and using diverse interactive teaching methods. This approach aims to enhance students' intrinsic motivation by making the learning processes more relevant and engaging for them, thus encouraging participation and engagement because the activities are inherently satisfying and connected to their personal interests. Let's move to the next exercise. Teaching materials and aids. In an ESL classroom in the United States, the teacher uses a variety of materials to cater the diverse needs of her students. From the list below, select the materials that are primarily considered authentic resources. 1. Textbooks designed for ESL learning. 2. News articles from English language newspapers. 3. Menus from English-speaking countries. 4. Grammar exercise worksheets. And 5. Social media posts in English. A. 1 and 4. B. 2, 3, 5. C. 2, 4. The correct answer is B. Let me explain. Authentic materials are real-life resources not specifically designed for language learning, such as news articles, menus, and social media posts. These materials provide students with practical language exposure. Let's move to the next exercise. Organizing the elements of lesson planning. A team of ESL teachers at an international school in Vancouver is reviewing their lesson planning process to ensure it meets the diverse needs of their students. They consider several key elements to include in their lesson plans. From the list below, select the elements that are essential for effective lesson planning. 1. Clearly defined learning objectives that are aligned with curriculum standards. 2. A list of all the textbooks the teacher plans to use over academic year. 3. Activities that cater to different learning styles and abilities. 4. Formative and summative assessment strategies to measure student progress. 5. A fixed classroom seating arrangement that cannot be changed. Options: A. 1, 3, 4. B. 2, 5. C. 1, 2, 3. The correct answer is A. Let me explain. Effective lesson planning involves having clearly defined learning objectives that align with curriculum standards, incorporating activities that cater to various learning styles and abilities, and employing both formative and summative assessment strategies to guide and support student process. These elements ensure that the lessons are focused, inclusive, and evaluated. In contrast, the choice of textbooks and fixed seating arrangement are more specific to logistics and classroom management and are not universally essential elements of effective lesson planning.
This exercise is from the sub-area Language Acquisition and Learning, from the topic Language Acquisition. A teacher notices that young learners in a naturalistic environment are able to grasp complex grammatical structures without explicit instruction. She attributes this to unconscious internal mechanisms that guide the development of language as proposed by nativist theories. Which concept best explains this phenomenon? A. Acquisition, B. Learning, or C. Memorization? The correct answer is A. Acquisition. The explanation is that acquisition refers to the subconscious process of developing language ability through natural exposure, particularly emphasized in nativist and innatist theories, while learning and memorization are incorrect because learning is a conscious process that involves formal instruction, not spontaneous grammatical development, and memorization is incorrect also because memorization plays a role in vocabulary retention but does not explain complex rule application or spontaneous grammatical structuring. This exercise is from the sub-area Language Acquisition and Learning, from the topic Language Learning. An adult student enrolls in an English language course where grammar rules are explained explicitly, vocabulary is drilled, and written exercises are used to reinforce language structures. The student consciously reflects on language rules during communication tasks. Which process does this scenario illustrate? A. Language learning, B. Language acquisition, or C. Language awareness? Correct answer is A. Language learning. Language learning is a conscious process that involves formal instruction, metalinguistic awareness, and the deliberate study of grammatical structures and vocabulary. Language acquisition is incorrect because it occurs subconsciously through natural interaction with the language and is not driven by formal instruction. And language awareness is incorrect also because while awareness involves noticing language features, it is not a learning process per se and does not encompass structured instruction and practice. This exercise from the sub-area approaches and methods to language learning with the topic Methods of English Language Teaching. A teacher designs a lesson in which students work in pairs to complete a meaningful task, booking a hotel room, without focusing explicitly on grammar instruction. The task is followed by analysis of the language used and further practice. Which teaching method does this approach reflect? A. Grammar translation, B. Task-based language teaching, or C. Audiolingual method? The correct answer is B. Task-based language teaching. It is correct because TBLT emphasizes the completion of real-world tasks as the primary unit of instruction. Language focus comes after the task is completed, aligning with the scenario described. Grammar translation and audiolingual method are incorrect because grammar translation, this method centers on translating text and memorizing grammar rules, with little emphasis on communication or task completion. And C. Audiolingual method is incorrect also because the audiolingual method relies on repetition, drills, and habit formation, and not an authentic task followed by language rule reflection. This exercise is from the sub-area Approaches and Methods to Language Learning, with the topic Methods of English Language Teaching. An experienced teacher critiques a method where language structures are practiced through repetitive drills, stimulus-response patterns, and mimicry, often using visual prompts and substitution tables. While the method aims at a habit formation and accurate production, the teacher argues it lacks emphasis on authentic communication and fails to promote learners' autonomy. Which method is being criticized? A. Community language learning, B. Audiolingual method, or C. Natural approach? The correct answer is audiolingual method. This is correct because it's grounded in behaviorist psychology, focusing on repetition, pattern practice, and habit formation, often criticized for its lack of communicative authenticity and learner agency. While A and C are incorrect because A is community language learning and this method is based on humanistic principles and emphasizes group interaction and learner autonomy. It does not use mechanical drills or behaviorist reinforcement. A natural approach is also incorrect because the natural approach focuses on comprehension and meaningful communication in low anxiety context, rather than drill-based production or structure mimicry. This exercise is from the sub-area Teaching the Language Skills and the topic is listening. An ELT professional designs a listening task where students are asked to predict the content based on the title, identify key ideas while listening, and finally reflect on the speaker's tone, purpose, and implicit meanings. The goal is to enhance students' ability to interpret beyond the literal meaning and engage in higher order comprehension. Which type of listening skill is the primary focus of this task? A. Extensive listening, B. Intensive listening, or C. Inferential listening? The correct answer is C. Inferential listening. As we can see, inferential listening is the answer that involves interpreting implied meanings, tone, and speaker's intent, exactly the aim of the described task, which goes beyond surface-level comprehension. While A and B are incorrect because extensive listening emphasizes enjoyment and general understanding over long periods, typically using authentic input but does not prioritize deep analysis or inference. And intensive listening is also incorrect because intensive listening focuses on decoding details, sounds, and structures within short passages, not on interpreting implicit meaning or speaker intention. Now this example is from sub-area Language Acquisition and Learning, and the topic is Language Acquisition. Which of the following statements best reflects the critical period hypothesis in second language acquisition? A. Adults can achieve native-like fluency if they are exposed to sufficient input over time. B. There is a biologically determined window during which language acquisition occurs more naturally and effectively. And C. Children learn a second language better due to a greater exposure and practice opportunities in immersive environments. Okay, the correct answer is B. The critical period hypothesis from Lenneberg in 1967 suggests an optimal age range, typically before puberty, for acquiring language with native-like proficiency. While option A and C are incorrect. A is incorrect because while adults can acquire high proficiency, native-like fluency is rare after the critical period, even with prolonged exposure. And C is incorrect also because although environments matters, this option highlights external factors rather than the biological foundation central to the hypothesis. This exercise is from the sub-area Approaches and Methods to Language Learning, with the topic Methods of English Language Teaching, which method emphasizes meaningful communication and learner interaction over the explicit teaching of grammar rules, focusing on fluency rather than accuracy. A. Grammar translation method. B. Communicative language teaching, CLT. Or C. Audiolingual method. The correct answer is B. CLT focuses on real-life communication, promoting fluency through interaction and contextualized tasks rather than direct grammar instruction. While A and C are incorrect because the grammar translation method prioritizes grammatical accuracy and the translation of text over communication and fluency. And C is also incorrect because the audiolingual method is based on repetition and habit formation, prioritizing structure and accuracy through drills and non-communicative competence. Now let's check the review of the exercises of Area 3 English Language Teaching with the order format. Order the stages in a comprehension-based listening lesson that progressively builds students' ability to understand and respond to the spoken input in English. Okay, as we can see, the correct answer is A, that is 1, 5, 2, 3, and 4. Let's check it out. First, 1. Activate background knowledge related to the topic. Next, 5. 3. Teach essential vocabulary and expressions. 2. Conduct a guess listening task to identify the main idea. 3. Perform a detailed listening task to extract specific information. And 4. Engage in a follow-up speaking or writing task using the content. The explanation is that a comprehension-based listening lesson typically starts with activating prior knowledge, then pre-teaching key vocabulary, followed by gist and detailed listening, and finally moving into production. This sequence scaffolds understanding and output. Options B and C are incorrect because teaching vocabulary before activating prior knowledge can limit student engagement and motivation, as learners benefit more when they first connect the topic to their own experiences. And C is also incorrect because skipping the vocabulary pre-teaching before listening can hinder comprehension, especially for lower proficiency students who may struggle with unknown terms. Now, this exercise is from the sub-area Teaching the Language Skills with the topic Speaking. Order the stages of a fluency-based speaking activity designed to help learners express ideas clearly and spontaneously in extended discourse. Okay, as we can see, the correct answer is A, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 sequence. So, number 1 is set a communicative goal and context for speaking. Number 2 is provide a model for or input, for example, dialogue and video. 3. Allow preparation time, for example, notes or rehearsal. 4. Facilitate the speaking task, like discussion or roleplay. And 5. Offer delayed error correction and feedback. Okay, the explanation is that a well-structured fluency activity starts by establishing the purpose and context, when then exposing learners to input followed by preparation, performance, and post-task feedback. This sequence supports both confidence and accuracy. B and C are incorrect because in B, presenting input before clarifying the communicated purpose may confuse learners about the relevance of the model, and context must come first. And C is also incorrect because preparing before being exposed to a model limits learners' ability to use authentic expression or structures, and input should precede rehearsal. This exercise is from the sub-area Teaching the Language Skills with the topic Grammar. Order the stages of an inductive grammar teaching approach designed to guide learners in discovering grammatical patterns through context. So, the correct answer is A, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sequence, as we can see here, and the number 1 is present a contextualized text or dialogue containing the target structure. 2. Guide learners to notice and analyze the grammatical form and use. 3. Elicit and confirm grammatical rules based on student observation. 4. Provide control practice activities for reinforcement. And 5. Facilitate communicative practice using the structure in meaningful context. Correct answer is A. Because this sequence aligns with inductive methodology, students first observe structures in use, analyze them, induce the rule, and practice both form and function is in guided and communicative task. While B and C are incorrect because starting with analysis before exposure to context disrupts natural discovery and may create confusion or misinterpretation. And C is also incorrect because eliciting rules before structure noticing can lead to premature generalizations and reduced learner autonomy in the inductive process. Now we'll let you to answer by your own this exercise. This is exercise from sub-area Teaching the Language Skills, and the topic is listening. It says, order the steps typically followed in a top-down listening comprehension activity aimed at developing students' ability to derive meaning using background knowledge and contextual clues. Now we'll let you to answer by your own this exercise. The next exercise is from the sub-area Teaching the Language Skills with the topic Speaking. Order the stages involved in a communicative speaking task designed to enhance fluency, negotiation of meaning, and real-life interaction skills. So now we can see the correct answer, that is A. So the sequence is 3, 1, 2, 4, and 5. So we check it and we can see that it's 3. Scaffold language input, key expressions, vocabulary, discourse markers. 1. Provide a pre-task model or example of the speaking performance. 2. Assign a meaningful context-based communicative task to students. 4. Monitor interaction and provide strategic feedback during the task. And finally 5. Engage in post-task reflection, peer evaluation, and hero analysis. So this is correct because effective speaking instruction begins with language scaffolding, then exposure to models, followed by communicative production, feedback, and reflection. While sequences B and C are incorrect because giving feedback after reflection limits immediate correction, feedback is more beneficial during the task, and starting with the task before preparing students linguistically may hinder performance and confidence. So, the next and the final exercise of this section is this, from sub-area Teaching the Language Skills with the topic Vocabulary. Order the stages in teaching new vocabulary items in a communicative language classroom to ensure retention, context integration, and learner autonomy. So, we see that the correct answer is C, this 4, 2, 5, 1, and 3. So, let's check it out. So, 4 is elicit or present the meaning using images, realia, or context. 2 is present the word with pronunciation, spelling, and part of speech. 5. Personalize the word by connecting it to students' own lives or experiences. Following for 1 is practice vocabulary in a controlled context to gap fill or substitution tasks. And 3. Provide opportunities for free production using the vocabulary in speech or writing. So, the correct answer is C, 4, 2, 5, 1, and 3. This is correct because effective vocabulary teaching introduces meaning first, then form, followed by personalization, controlled practice, and finally a productive use. While this sequence and this is, both are incorrect because while it starts with meaning and form, it delays personalization too much and puts it before production, which disrupts integration. And B, presenting form before meaning can confuse learners. Also, personalization should precede free production to support fluency. And this was the last example exercise from this section. And finally, let's review the examples of exercises of the format of matching of the Area 3, English Language Teaching. Okay, we are going to review 5 exercises, and after those exercises we are going to attach and add the exercises that we reviewed in our original video of EGAL EIN in 2021 with Ekaterina. So therefore, with those exercises and these exercises with Sofiia, we are going to have a little more than 100 exercises for you to check how our material is composed, and of course these are some kind of exercises that you can find in our final guide. So keep watching. This exercise is from the sub-area Language Acquisition and Learning with the topic Language Acquisition. Match each term related to language acquisition with its correct definition or concept. The correct answer is A, and we can see that the match is this. The term critical period matches with the definition or concept B, hypothetical time span when language acquisition occurs most naturally and efficiently. 2. Interlanguage with C, that is transitional linguistic system that evolves as the learner progresses toward target language. 3. Silent period with D, phase when learners refrain from producing language but are actively processing input. 4. Fossilization with E, cessation of language development despite frequent exposure and practice. And 5. Formulaic speech with A, that is language development stage marked by formulaic unanalyzed chunks of language. So the correct answer is like this, because the critical period refers to the ideal time for natural acquisition in their language, is the learner's evolving system, silent period is for receptive input, and fossilization is development stagnation, and formulaic speech involves memorized language chunks. While matches B and C are incorrect. Let's continue checking our exercises. This is from sub-area Approaches and Methods to Language Learning, and the topic is Methods of English Language Teaching. Match each teaching method with its core instructional practice. So, we see that here we have the correct answer, that is A, and let's check it out. A. We see the method with a silent way that matches core instructional practice that uses color code pronunciation charts and roles to promote student autonomy. 2 is Total Physical Response, TPR, that combines physical movement with language input to reinforce comprehension and memory. 3. Suggestopedia with 3 uses music, relaxation, and dramatization to lower affective filter and enhance input. 4. The Natural Approach focuses on comprehensive input, delaying speech production until learners are ready. 5. Direct Method emphasizes exclusive use of target language with no translation and inductive grammar. So, the explanation is that each method aligns with its distinctive practice. Silent way promotes autonomy with visual aids. TPR blends movement and language. Suggestopedia integrates music and relaxation. Natural Approach waits for spontaneous speech, and Direct Method immerses learners into target language use. Okay, let's continue checking. This example is from Teaching the Language Skills with the topic Speaking. Match each speaking activity with its primary communicative objective. We see that the correct answer is A. So let's check it out, the match, and we see that speaking activity role play is matched with communicate objective of practice using language for specific professional or social scenarios. 2. Information gap with B, that is exchange missing details to achieve a task collaboratively. 3. Oral presentation with organize and deliver structured speech with academic or persuasive purposes. 4. Jigsaw activity with D, that combine individual pieces of information to complete a whole through group negotiation. And 5. Debate, that articulate arguments and counterarguments logically and persuasively. So, the explanation is that each activity is matched with its communicative focus. Role play simulate contextual use. Information gaps foster interaction for missing data. Oral presentation require structured speaking. Jigsaw relies on mutual sharing to form complete content. And debates develop argumentative speech. And our last exercise of this video But remember that after this exercise we are going to watch the exercises in our original video with Ekaterina Novikova in 2021. So let's continue checking this huge section, and after this we are going to see the other examples of the exercises, and therefore we are going to have more than 100 exercises for you to practice. And if you want to have one of our study guides, if you want to buy one, you can see the links below in the integration of the description of the video below. So you can give us a subscribe button click. Of course, you can subscribe to this channel, and you can share this video with all the people that you want, the people that you think that is going to help. And of course, it's going to help us too, because our community is going to grow. So we help you, and it's bilateral. We help you, you help us. So yeah. So this is the last. Match each listening type with its corresponding characteristic of purpose. So the correct answer is A, and we see that the match is like this. 1. Listening type extensive listening with purpose is listening for enjoyment and general comprehension without focusing on every detail. 2. Intensive listening with close attention to linguistic details such as grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. 3. Selective listening is focusing on specific information such as numbers or names within a larger text. 4. Responsive listening and listening that prompts short spoken replies, often in everyday interactions. And 5. Interactive listening and active listening that involves negotiation of meaning, clarification, and turn taking. So this is the correct answer, because extensive listening emphasizes enjoyment, intensive focuses on language form, selective targets key information, responsive requires short replies, and interactive involves negotiated meaning and conversations. So this was our last example of exercise. If you wanted or you liked this video, please share with the people that you think is going to help. You can subscribe to our channel if you want to take one of our guides. Remember, we have at least 5 different kind of guides. All the guides have the 3 detailed information explained, all the topics explained according to the references that CENEVAL propose, and of course the prices vary in the number of exercises that we add to you. Remember, the exercises are explained like those that you could saw in this video, and of course we're going to be very happy to help you. What about Ekaterina? Ekaterina in last years is not working anymore with us in Pixoguias. She went to Israel in Tel Aviv, and after that she moved to Europe, so she is not working anymore in Pixoguias, but we hope that she's fine, and we are happy that we had her in our in Pixoguias sometime. But now we are working with other people. We are very extremely happy to have Sofiia in our lines. Sofiia is Sofiia is working in a lot of places according to technology, according to language, according to laws. Sofiia is extremely professional woman. So now she's working full-time with us, and we're very happy to have her in the team. And we expect to have Sofiia at least 1 million years working with us. So yeah, so it was Rodrigo talking to you, Sofiia also, and if you are happy with our video, share with the people you want, and we want that you have a very amazing result in your test. Remember, study smart and not hard. Goodbye for now.
Hello everybody, my name is Rodrigo, and we are going to analyze each kind of exercise that CENEVAL EGAL EIN ENSEñanza del Inglés ask for this kind of test. And of course, these kind of exercises are contained in our guide. Let's check them all. Perfect. As you can see in the screen at this moment, we are going to analyze a direct question example. Look, a baby boy was born in Japan, but his parents are from England. His parents spent 19 months traveling through China, India and Singapore, and they commissioned the care of the baby to a Japanese family this time. The Japanese family taught the little boy how to spell and write kanjis by the age 1.5 years. When the parents returned for the baby, they traveled to London. Then, they started to teach him the English language. At age 3, they introduced him to his very first school, where he lived together with Chinese, Mexican, Spaniard, and Celtic students. There were also classes to learning Spanish, English, Japanese, and Chinese, which is the L1 of the baby boy. A. Spanish, B. Japanese, C. English, D. Chinese. The right answer is B. Japanese. An English teacher decides to list the students some words. The objective is that they have to remember how many times the sound A appears. The teacher says the following words: pepper, paper, letter, later, pen, pain, wet, wait, get, wet, late, let. The professor is using the technique A. Listening comprehension, B. Taping students' English, C. Spelling bee, or D. Minimal pairs. And the answer is D. Minimal pairs. From the following chart, choose the elements that are part of the lower surface of vocal tract. 1. Epiglottis, 2. Larynx, 3. Tongue root, 4. Pharynx, 5. Tongue center, 6. Alveolar ridge. Okay, you can stop the video right now and analyze your answer. Ready? Okay, the answer is letter D. Order the sequence of events in the conquest of Britain. 1. Several dialects were created along the island. 2. Migrators from Denmark and Low Countries established in South and East Britain. 3. There was a conversion of Britain to Roman Christianity beginning in 597. 4. Celts assigned the name of Saxonia to the land conquered by Germans. 5. England was conquered by the Vikings, settling a Scandinavian influence. Ready? You can stop the video and think very good your answer. You will check in a moment. Ready? Let's check it. The answer is A. Melissa is a 12-year-old Brazilian girl who moved from Rio de Janeiro to Miami with her parents. She studies in a multilingual school, so she doesn't have problems learning subjects like history, biology, chemistry, and physics. She also plays volleyball at Mondays in the afternoon and goes to English classes at the same hours Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Her teacher has 3 weeks teaching a vocabulary, but Melissa has problems recognizing the spelled word from teacher and the way to write it. She confuses the suitable way of the grammar of the words. She's sad because she failed the last 2 vocabulary tests. What advice would you give to the teacher to improve Melissa's way of learning new vocabulary and problems in the correlation between the spelling, the pronunciation, and the grammar of the written word? Okay, you can stop the video and analyze your answer. Option A, to give up in the lesson, she's gonna fail anyway. B, to look in the dictionary all the homophones for the words. C, to add phonemic strips during the classes in the blackboard. And D, to use several articulatory loops until improving. The answer is C. Look at the conversation between students and answer what is needed. Tim: Hi sweetheart, do you have a cup of flavored sugar? Claire: Oh yes, do you want just 1 or 2? Tim: No, just 1. Please, I don't use sugar too often in the kitchen. Claire: It will be a pleasure, wait here. Claire: Here, if you want more sugar, don't hesitate to ask me again. Tim: Thank you. The kind of approach that the students are taking to learn more about daily vocabulary is A. Dramatization, B. Performance, C. Personalization, D. Funny show. Ready? Let's check the answer. The answer is C. Choose the better pedagogic features when teaching grammar. Simplicity, fun, clarity, perfection, familiarity. You can stop the video right now and check your answer. Ready? The answer is letter D. Order the following sequence in a classroom writing work in the setting of a standard writing task. 1. Begin a brainstorm of ideas. 2. Make sure students are clear what to do. 3. Use notes, sketches, or cut up cards to organize text. 4. Get students interested. 5. Write a final text based on feedback. 6. Prepare a draft version. Ready? The answer is letter A. The TOEFL committee gave you an invitation via email to collaborate in the construction of the exam that will take place in Monterrey, Mexico next December. The committee needs to know if you are familiarized with this kind of test. Mention which of the following is a true feature of the TOEFL test. A. TOEFL is a revolutionary method to examine more students even at large distances. B. It has a specific area for grammar, so a special banner awares you when this section begins. It tests reading, writing, listening, and speaking in a split way. It evaluates foreign people how them are able to talk British English. Letter A. Which stage of the lesson the teacher is working on the following situation? Teacher tells the students, Peter's having a party this weekend and he's buying the drinks, and then shows a picture with different actions and asks with one student, what else is he doing this weekend? He's planning stage, pre-planning stage, practice stage, the testing stage. The answer is B. The aim of correcting a student is to 1. Identify which grammar structure is being used, 2. Acknowledge achievement and progress, 3. Make the student be more confident about himself, 4. Raise awareness. Ready? The answer is B. Order the steps for an inductive presentation. 1. Concept questions. 2. Introduction of context and aids. 3. Language selected for presentation. 4. Control practice activity. And 5. Explanation of use. Ready? The answer is...
And finally, in this video, we are going to check the second phase of the EGAL EIN process called EXOAL EIN. In detail explanation. We're going to see in a moment the new EXOAL EIN syllabus, but first we're going to check the features. The EXOAL EIN is the second stage of the EGAL EIN process by CENEVAL. Assesses advanced English proficiency and the application of didactic knowledge. Consists of a written case study or portfolio, as Sofiia said previously, plus an oral defense, and both conducted in English by professionals. The written case study has a time frame of 20 business days. The format is PDF, 20 to 30 pages, Arial 12, 1.5 line spacing, and the structure is cover page, introduction, case presentation, theoretical framework, diagnosis, solution, conclusions, and references in the APA format. The evaluation is based on rubrics for content, clarity, justification, and academic language. The oral defense consists in a duration of 20-minute presentation plus 60-minute questions and answers with a jury. It's the hardest part of the whole process. Assessment is subject mastery, logical argumentation, use of ELT terminology linked to teaching practice. And the final verdict is satisfactory if you get equal or more than 1000 points. Therefore, you're eligible for degree issuance. It is important to note that the oral defense is going to take place in Mexico City in the official CENEVAL place, so be ready. So, here are the evaluation criteria and standards. First, the presentation of the paper includes all the elements like cover page, index, introduction, presentation of the case study, theoretical framework, development and solution, conclusion and references. The introduction clearly identifies the objective, the scope of the paper as well as its relevance with ELT. The case presentation synthesizes the case study and identifies the problem to be solved. CENEVAL is going to tell you which case study you need to develop. After the EGAL EIN exam, they are going to send you or tell you which case study you need to study. Theoretical framework presents an insightful understanding and thorough analysis of the theoretical background of the case study. making relevant and strong connections with ELT theory. Development and solution of the case presents strong arguments and evidence supporting diagnosis of the case from a critical point of view. Presents detailed, viable, and appropriate solutions to the problem, clearly supported through critical analysis of all key issues. Conclusions appraises the viability of the proposal and outlines the impact on their current and/or future teaching practice. Use of academic language. Writing demonstrates a clear understanding of the conventions of academic language. Uses accurate grammar, spelling, and punctuation which clearly convey meaning. Layout of the PPT demonstrates accurate use of academic language, logical and relevant sequence of content. Mastery of content of the presentation demonstrates mastery of the content of the presentation. Defense of solution justifies the solutions relating them to the theoretical concepts. Argumentation. The answer gives extensive evidence of logical arguments or spoken discourse. Consistently exhibits logical development among the theoretical concepts, resolutions of the case, and conclusions in his or her discourse. ELT terminology demonstrates extensive knowledge of the ELT terminology, using it appropriately in the defense. Teaching practice consistently relates the solution to effective teaching practice. And finally, conclusions and reflection demonstrates solid background knowledge of the theory behind the key issues. Explains the skills, knowledge gained from the case study as well as the impact on his, her current and/or future teaching practice. As you know, and as Sofiia said before, we include the Master Guide for EGAL EIN Phase EXOAL. This EXOAL EIN overview is the guide for the Stage 2 of EGAL EIN, assesses ELT knowledge in English, written case study, 20 to 30 pages, examples of how you need to make the oral defense with some speeches, real speeches, 20 plus 60 minutes, and academic format plus rubrics. So this was our last example of exercise. If you wanted or you liked this video, please share with the people that you think is going to help. You can subscribe to our channel if you want to take one of our guides. Remember, we have at least 5 different kind of guides. All the guides have the 3 detailed information explained, all the topics explained according to the references that CENEVAL propose, and of course the prices vary in the number of exercises that we add to you. Remember, the exercises are explained like those that you could saw in this video, and of course we're going to be very happy to help you. What about Ekaterina? Ekaterina in last years is not working anymore with us in Pixoguias. She went to Israel in Tel Aviv, and after that she moved to Europe, so she is not working anymore in Pixoguias, but we hope that she's fine, and we are happy that we had her in our in Pixoguias sometime. But now we are working with other people. We are very extremely happy to have Sofiia in our lines. Sofiia is working in a lot of places according to technology, according to language, according to laws. Sofiia is extremely professional woman. So now she's working full-time with us, and we're very happy to have her in the team, and we expect to have Sofiia at least 1 million years working with us. So yeah, so it was Rodrigo talking to you, Sofiia also, and if you are happy with our video, share with the people you want, and we want that you have a very amazing result in your test. Remember, study smart and not hard. Goodbye for now.